Everybody ready?
Yep.
I'll open the closed session meeting, July 22nd, 2024. Time is 5:31. Kim, can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Duncan?
Here.
Councilmember Garner?
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
Here.
Absent from this meeting is Mayor Bieber.
Is there any public comments?
No comments.
All right. We'll move to closed session. The time is 5:31.
Yes, sir. Ready.
All right. We'll open the regular city council meeting, July 22nd. Time is at 6 o'clock. Can I get Phil? Phil, can you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, Phil. Madam Clerk, can I get a roll call, please?
Councilmember Duncan?
Here.
Councilmember Garner?
Here.
Councilmember Thorpe?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
Here.
Absent from this meeting is Mayor Bieber.
Mr. Graham, is there anything to report on closed session?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. On the first item, the City Council gave settlement direction by consensus. On the second item, the City Council gave direction to initiate litigation by consensus. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mann, is there any changes to the agenda?
No changes, sir.
Thank you. I'm glad they gave me this because I. All right, public safety. Mr. Walker, Captain.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. This will be your June update for the Police Department. In June, we had 3,646 calls for service, which is a slight decrease from May. We maintained that right around in that 4-minute average response time to emergency calls for service in the month of June. Reported Part 1 crimes for June, no homicide or rape stats for June, 2 robberies, 21 reports in the aggravated assault category, 6 in the burglary category, 11 in the larceny or theft category, 8 motor vehicle thefts, and 1 arson. Arrests for the month of June were 121, which is a slight decrease from May and an increase from April. Out of the 121 arrests, 68 of those were adult bookings into one of our correctional facilities. And again, June, like most months, our most common arrests were narcotics-related offenses, warrant arrests, domestic violence incidents, and theft-related calls for service. From our traffic division, there was 134 traffic citations for the month of June, 30 traffic collisions that were investigated, and 30 extra patrols, and like I mentioned before, targeted patrols where at meetings like tonight, or as we're out in public and we get reported incidents or people are having issues on specific roads, we try to target those areas or neighborhoods. And we had 13 DUI arrests. Don't be alarmed by the lower number here in June over May. That's as a result of having one of our traffic deputies on vacation that month. So that's the reason for the lower statistics in June for the citations. For our SOP team, there was over 100 contacts made in the community. We had 20 specific transient calls for service. Those are calls that actually come into our dispatch center and are created calls for service. We had 35 complaints reference homeless issues in the city. That's either complaints or tips letting us know that there's somebody that may need to be contacted out in the city that the SOP team handled, and the 35 came from the app. 13 subjects that we contacted during the month of June accepted some form of assistance by the team. The team made 53 arrests, 11 of which were trespassing, and they towed 3 vehicles. There was 137 business contacts, 21 park patrols, and 15 property checks. Again, those are our vacant homes, red tagged homes, or just problem residences throughout the city. The team also assisted alcohol and beverage control in doing 3 inspections at 3 businesses here in town, just compliance inspections that ABC enlisted the help of the SOP team to help out with. And then again, just that continued collaboration with our local businesses and managers, whether that be mobile home parks or apartment managers, just to be out there, be accessible, hear what the problems are from the people who are experiencing them, and targeting their enforcement that way. And with that, those are your stats for the month of June, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Just a comment. I had my first encounter with Diana and with the SOPS team this morning, and I was very impressed. They seemed like they're doing a great job, and so I really appreciate it.
Thank you. I know I've said it in this forum before, but Diana has been a great addition to the team, and I can't say enough about the team collectively. They work very well together. They're really always trying to look into the future and forecast problems and try to make a difference before it actually becomes a problem. So thank you, I appreciate that.
Anybody else? No, good. All right, thank you, Mr. Walker. Chief Malinowski.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. So this will be your June fire report. So for the month of June, we saw 841 calls for service. So kind of a consistency here. We saw a 10% increase over May and a 13% increase compared to last year. So just kind of that constant trend of busier, busier, busier. Some significant incidents we had. Took a immediate need strike team out to the post fire in LA County, where I was running one of the divisions, one of the geographic areas of the fire, actually right in there. And then West Wind's Mobile Home Park, we had 6 residents displaced due to a fire there that we helped with Red Cross assistance to kind of ease that transition of getting back into their residence. Some outreach projects we had, Garden Works Day for the kids, First Responder Day up there we were able to attend. Between myself and Captain Walker and both departments and the city and Chief O'Connell from Calamasa, anti-fireworks campaign, and I think anecdotally maybe our best year on illegal fireworks. It seemed very, very light this year, so at least personally. Attended Vision Quest First Responder Day, and then we were able to do another community chipping day, and that is our City of Yucaipa Fire Department chipper in action. The folks from the state came down, and we're at the point now where the program they're developing us at no cost went to field tests. So we're just waiting for some stuff for that to go live. Huge benefit to us. We did attend Flags Day at the Elks, And we're able to provide our community service district with another round of Narcan training, stop the bleed, live extinguisher use for all our kind of park staff, swim staff, all that summer seasonal help, so they know what to do before we get there. We did host a large active shooter training with a lot of departments, the school district, PD taking the lead on that. So that was, for anybody who got to see it, was good. So we have the plan and the actions ready to go before it actually happens, and that went very well. And that's all I have for you, unless you have questions.
Any questions?
The reason the fireworks were so light is because of that big bust down in LA County where they found all those fireworks.
Yeah, state level, we do a lot of large enforcement where they're looking for, U-Haul trucks and stuff, but, yeah, I don't know, maybe they're just too expensive with the economy, who knows, but it was pretty light this year, so we're happy about that.
Is there the national day? I can't
National
remember.
Night Out,
Yeah, National Night
August.
Out. August.
Yep.
August what date?
August 6th.
6th.
Maybe.
That's coming up.
Don't quote me. I'll double check for you though. So and
All right.
we'll provide it in our next update, just to give you some futures.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right. Now on to public, I'm sorry. Code enforcement. Sorry, Ben.
Oh, no worries. I'll be quick. As part of code enforcement, we did receive 101 new cases that were submitted. Almost half of them were resolved before the end of the month. A lot of it related to overgrown vegetation, inoperable vehicles, unpermitted construction, and trash and debris. And then as part of the code enforcement activity for the month of June, we had 325 inspections, 400 different cases that were closed out and completed. We received $6,700 in citation fees. And then we did do 5 inspections of different chicken ranches with no violations observed. One thing that we did do, and there'll be a presentation, I think, at the next meeting, is our new permit software was unveiled, which includes code enforcement activities. And so a lot of transition from old data from our old system to the new one. And so they were doing all those cases and inspections while also managing the transition of the data. So busy month for us, and but a lot of progress made with a number of different cases. So that concludes it.
All right. Any questions? Thank you, Ben. Now on to public comment. All right. Can we say this all the time, just we have 3 minutes, and we hope that you guys give us enough respect, and we'll give you guys the same respect. Ms. Kim?
We're going to start off with Richard Frost, followed by Hanson Wong.
Richard Foss, 13645 Fifth Street, Yucaipa. Yeah, I just wanted to comment on that, on the traffic circle at County Line Road and Fifth Street. The lighting is really bad at night, and it's just really hard to see, and cars rarely stop. And I think they had a problem like that with the 3rd and East Street traffic circle a while back. And I think I heard somebody was hit there, injured one time, and now they have lots of lights around there. But I know they just recently finished the one at County Line Road and Fifth Street. And also, there's a new sidewalk that's on the north side of County Line Road between Fifth and Calamasa Boulevard. It's kind of wide, and there are more people riding bicycles and mopeds on that than I guess than there are pedestrians. So they should maybe have a sign there reminding people it's for pedestrians. And I guess a lot of people want to stay out of County Line Road, but that's...
All righty, thank you.
Hanson Wong, followed by Thomas Butler.
Hanson Wong, Yucaipa. Want you to know I do respect you as city council members, even though I don't always agree with you, okay? And hopefully that you would also respect our comments so that, at least you would think about it, and that's all I'm asking for. So I'll have to quickly go through this. I apologize for people calling me after 5 o'clock. They shouldn't be doing that. Anyway, first of all, these are my perceptions of the last fiscal year. We're starting a new fiscal year, so I just thought I'd give you my perceptions. If they're wrong, Mr. Mann, Mr. Graham, the rest of you can chew me out for it. First of all, in my mind, the city needs to balance what it does between housing and business and also infrastructure. Because if we don't balance those out, if one of those gets expanded faster than others, then we get behind. We get behind on providing first responder care. We get behind in other things. And if we don't do the businesses in conjunction with the housing, then we also lose out on revenue. And remember, I'll say this again, but every additional new person you get coming into the city costs our infrastructure additional $200 a year. So if you get 1,000 new homes with 3 per house, you multiply that by 200, that's your annual fee that will increase your deficit. Second thing, the city is to provide services for the community. Now, sometimes when you have a lot of reserve, you have the ability to give something back to the city, which we should, a YPAC or fire station or whatever. But on the other hand, we can't forget that we're not in the business of real estate or entertainment or anything else until we provide such services to the community, until we have appropriate reserves in order to take care of this. Last year, our discussion started out by saying, horrible budget, losing money, we need to do something about it. So what did we do about it? Well, first, we spent money on a specific plan that basically bring us no additional revenue immediately, maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years. And secondly, we spent money on a poll, we spent money on a finance report that served no function. We spent money on 3 different meetings, and our poor staff is overworked, and they're asked to reduce the staff, and yet we require them to do something that served very minimal purpose, and okay, my time's up. Sorry.
Thank you, Ms. Ron.
Thomas Butler, followed by Mary Reuter.
Hello, my name is Thomas Butler. I've got some concerns about this little deal that you guys got with Burtec, costing us money. You guys are trying to pay back money that you wasted and using us to pay it back. Then you're using the 1% tax. That, from what I understand, the 1% sales tax you're putting on, that's going to pay back the money, but you got other things that you're going to take the money out of to use. You got like 55,000 people here in this town. They supposedly you sent out some letter to people, and they were supposed to respond as far as this Burtec thing did. I don't know how you say you sent it out to everybody, because myself and my friend didn't get them. And from what I understand, there was 21 people that responded. So this thing just goes right ahead, and you guys are going to charge us all this money for this Burtec deal to pay back more money that you didn't need. And that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mary Reuter, followed by Amy Simmons.
Hi, Mary Reuter. I live at 10060 Carroll Drive on the North Bench, and I'm here today to talk to you from to be the spokesperson from the Chamber of Commerce. So the Chamber wants to provide the city with an update about what's been going on and what we've been doing. In the past few weeks, we've experienced some changes on the board of directors. Several directors have chosen to resign for personal reasons. Our new president is Anthony Hernandez of Emerson Bartlett Memorial Chapel. Our new vice president is Stephanie Schurz Jacoby of Roundabout Suites. And our new CFO is Mark Orr, who is from the Teamsters Local 1932. We are very, very pleased as a board of directors to have such successful and experienced business people step up and take on these leadership roles. We are actively recruiting directors and ambassadors to fill these vacancies. So if anybody is interested, the applications are on our brand new and improved website, which is yucaipachamber.org. What we've been doing so far this month, we hold breakfast meetings on the first Thursday of every single month, and that will be at the Women's Club on Avenue A. Our July breakfast was very successful, and we welcomed several new businesses into the chamber. And anybody in Yucaipa, whether you're a business owner or not, is welcome to attend and find out what is going on with the chamber. The Chamber Times newspaper article or page on the News Mirror spotlighted our chamber member Cauldron's Cleaning Crew Incorporated and introduced a brand new chamber challenge in order to support our local businesses and encourage people to shop local. So every month, we are going to provide clues, a little riddle, to a local business. Solve the riddle by identifying the business and take a photo of yourself in front of or inside the business and post it on our Facebook and Instagram page. 3 correct responses will be randomly chosen and will receive a prize from that business, and their names will be in the next month's Chamber Times. July's Chamber Challenge riddle is, my business, and it is not my business. My business is in a historic area of Yucaipa. The products I stock are loved by young and old alike. If you keep going around in circles, you'll never get there. What business am I? So figure out which business it is, go take a picture and post it on our Facebook or our Instagram page. We are also moving ahead with our Uptown Friday nights, which will begin in next January, and run through September. We are going to be having monthly evening mixers for those business people who need to come in the evening. That will start in August. City leaders, of course, are always invited. If anybody wants more information or details about what the Chamber has been doing, they can check out our website, yucaipachamber.org, our Facebook page or our Instagram page, or they can call the Chamber at 909-790-1841, and you'll likely get me. So, so we welcome any questions or anything that we need to know that we can do to support businesses, and we appreciate y'all's service. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Amy Simmons, followed by Martha Glebka.
Hi, council and staff. It's Amy Simmons again to talk about the library. I wanted to update you on our summer reading program that's going on right now. It is really the largest literacy and education support that's available free of charge for all of our Yucaipa students. We have 1,700 signed up, and we are averaging 380 people a week coming to our programs on Tuesdays. Our circulation during this program has been at around 30,000 books. So adults can join summer reading program. It's not too late. I encourage all of you to sign up. It's fun. Download the county app and go to Bean Stack. But other than that, I have 4 additional things I wanted to mention to you tonight with regards to the library. Since the 99-cent only store has closed down, sadly, our branch manager has observed drug dealing in the library. She has gone into the sheriff's department to report it. It's a very difficult situation because she cannot confront them. She can only have people adhere to the standard library code of conduct. And I did not ask her how she knew that they were dealing drugs, but she is absolutely 100% sure. And if you go into the left at the library, you'll notice that the adult seating area is to the back, left of the library, and that's where the problem is. Not only that, we do have continual issue with homeless people coming, because really, the library is the only place they can go where they are not asked to buy something, and they can use a restroom and sit in a cool place. Now, we do have the cooling center, but we're having it at the library. And I noticed the last couple times I came right when the library opened to do a book sale, we had homeless people waiting at the door to get inside and wash up. So I wanted to mention that to you. And then to further my concerns about safety, when winter comes, the lighting on the outside of that building is sorely inadequate. We do have lights above the walkway as you come in, and I noticed that the light bulbs always work in those fixtures, but the lenses are so dirty they admit almost no light, and it makes me wonder that perhaps that the technician that changes light bulbs feels that it's not his job to clean the lenses, and therefore light is never properly emitted from the lenses. Anyway, the fourth thing I wanted to mention is when I volunteer at the library, I noticed one time when I was helping clean up paintbrushes from a paint night that I couldn't get hot water to wash the brushes. Well, I was told that no one has ever been able to get hot water out of a faucet. I have 5 seconds left here. I feel like to have a public building with no hot water, that's not nice. Lastly, I mentioned on a prior speaking to you that we do not have one of those little blue library signs that most towns that have libraries have. It's just the standard sign that you see universally, library with an arrow. They're very inexpensive, maybe $40. And I wanted to once again ask if you would consider having a directory sign on Yucaipa Boulevard to our library. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Walker?
Martha Glebka, followed by Kevin
Excuse me,
Miskin.
one second. Mr. Walker, can we address that? Okay.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I'll address that too. So I want to thank Ms. Simmons for bringing these issues up. You know, this is a city-owned building, the library.
Right.
But it's a county operation, so it's county staff in the building. So the city not having staff inside the building regularly, we often don't know about these issues unless someone says something. So again, I thank Ms. Simmons for bringing those forward. Ms. Simmons, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like to connect you with our SOP team to strategize about the homeless issues and the drug dealing there, and we will definitely get Public Works over to look at the lighting issue and the hot water issue.
Is there a direct line that she can get a hold of somebody?
Yeah, I mean, if she would just contact City Hall, or if she can give her information to the clerk, then I can reach out either way.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening. I'm not sure if I can ask a question before the clock starts.
Okay.
Mr. Frost mentioned about people getting something in the mail. I don't think you can answer it here, but if somebody could contact me and let me know how many of those were sent out and how many people responded, because we took a poll back here. Not one of us have gotten that, so. Just, and that can be followed up later. That's not a problem for me.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, I'm ready. Good evening. I've been hearing transparency from you for months now, going to meetings and in the News Mirror. Well, I'm going to call BS. Let me take you back to Monday, June 17th, when we had an open forum meeting at YPAC concerning the budget deficit. One of the solutions that came up was putting a 1 to 1.5% sales tax on the ballot as a means to raise revenue for the city. I walked away thinking that this was not such a bad idea, especially given the fact that it would stay in our city 100%. Mr. Mann, you showed multiple ways to try to raise funds in order for us not to have to remove critical responders needed in our city. Now let's go forward to the council meeting on June 24th, just 1 week later. A motion was called for a trash rate increase of 22%. This was disguised as just that, a trash rate increase, AKA tax to Yucaipa residents. In comparison to our neighbors in Calif Mesa that received a 1.9 increase just 1 week later. To put this in perspective, these are the guidelines, and I took this off the California government site. Small business taxes in California are layered, with a franchise tax applying to in certain situations. In California, the franchise tax rate for S-Corps is the greater of either $800 or 1.5% of the corporation's net income. For LLCs, the franchise tax is $800. LLCs that elect to be taxed as a corporation are subject to California's corporate income tax instead of the franchise tax. Meanwhile, franchise taxes for LLPs and LPs vary but must pay the minimum $800 franchise tax. And I know this to be true because I used to own a franchise. Simply put, ours was a franchise fee, also known as a tax, to the citizens of Yucaipa, in which the city will receive back from Burtec in excess of $2 million. Mr. Mann, you can't tell me that exactly 1 week ago you were not aware of pushing this deal through, and yet you never once thought to mention that at the meeting last week. This was a blatant use of power, Mr. Mann, transparent, no, no, and no again. You imposed tax on the people by means of a hidden agenda, senior citizens, low income, single moms, people that struggle day to day without being transparent, just a hidden snake in the grass that watches and then strikes, releasing their venom, and then watching people fight for their life. I'm out here to tell you all I plan to fight for the lives of the residents in Yucaipa. I will hit the ground running to replace and clean house in this city. I will be in opposition to the 1% tax increase until we see the city is run with full honesty and transparency. I plan to do this by educating citizens and recruiting teams of citizens to do the same. I am sick to death of watching this bait and switch game we've been playing. I have tried to remain calm and conduct myself with respect to our system, but ladies and gentlemen, I am transparent, I am loud, and if I have to become an advocate of change, well then here I am, ready to make Yucaipa great again.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Yeah, I'm not going to sit back anymore while misinformation is spread in this council chambers by the likes of Ms. Glubka and others. Ms. Glubka is very clearly confusing a business franchise tax with franchise fees that are imposed on utilities to use public infrastructure. They are two very separate things. I invite Ms. Glubka on this topic or any other that she has thoughts or questions or concerns on to reach out. I would be more than happy to sit down with her, or the finance director would be more than happy to sit down with her. And I think it'd be preferable for her and others to get the facts straight on these topics before standing up in a public forum and spreading misinformation and attacking. Thank you.
Kevin Miskin, Yucaipa resident. I apologize that I wasn't here for the last city council. I was actually on business in Denver, Colorado, when some of the issues were addressed. I did attend the YPAC forum town hall meeting on the budget and expressed some concerns there. I was concerned about the amount of salary and benefits that were going up about 30% in the new budget. But I've gone through the online, I guess, audited financial reports for Yucaipa, and I just wanted to share. I had to move some things around because some of the buckets are different, and so over the years, it's been a little bit different the way, for instance, fire is addressed in the general fund. But in 2017, our balance, at the end of 2017, our balance in the general fund was, operating fund was 48.1 million. In 2018, it increased to 49.5 million. In 2019, it increased to 49.6 million. In 2020, it increased to 54.9 million. That's when COVID hit. Then we saw a reduction down to 52.3 million. Kind of hung around 50.9 million in 2022. 2023, 50.6 million. And then there was a drop in 2024, projected 46.4 million. And then the projected drop in 2025, somewhere around, when you move those around, about 33 million. It appears to me that the statements made that this structural deficit has been happening for over the last 15 years is really not correct. It looks to me like it's been happening only over the last 2, maybe 3 years that it's been occurring. I'm concerned that when I look at the budget, that there are new budget items that have not been there in the past. For instance, government affairs, 2 years ago, there was no such department in our city. Never has been a government and public affairs department. That went from 0 in 2023 into 2024, over $500,000, and then projected for this next fiscal year, over $1 million. Apparently, and I've tried to fish this out, but there was about $500,000, maybe $400,000 to $500,000 in salary and benefits for 2 people. And I don't think that we need these departments. I'm asking, if you're asking for a 1% sales tax, that we really dig into this and look at where we can do some cutting before we have to have the people bear this burden. I also echo the concerns about this 22% trash tax versus Calamesa's 1.9%, looked into that as well. And I'm very concerned and would ask, and it pains me I have to say this, but I've asked for this in the past, and that's that you look at your campaign donations and tell the people if you're voting on contracts for those who have made campaign donations.
Thank you.
Our last public comment speaker is Chuck.
Good evening, I'm Chuck. I live in District 5. I hate to even bring this up. I hesitate to because you guys have so much more to deal with. This has to do with aesthetics. You promote Yucaipa to be this very nice community, which it is, with all of our beautiful marquees as you get off the freeway. Excuse me. We're promoting the wine country and various other things. And yet when you come up out of the Redlands Valley, and the first thing that you see coming into town is this big, like Lego block marquee structure for the businesses there at the bottom of the boulevard. And then you have the I-10 corridor that most of you guys are pushing to develop. And we see the back of the warehouse off of County Line from miles away, this big white building that just stands out and really destroys the aesthetics of our whole community. What I'm asking is that you maybe take into account or bring up in the Planning Commission, maybe some kind of city ordinance or code where aesthetics are addressed, the color schemes, more earth tones on these buildings that are going to be built, the marquees, have some kind of, I don't know, a pleasing appeal to them other than just this, I don't want to use Lego blocks, but that's what they remind me of, just block structures that are kind of ugly. And they don't represent what our community is about. We're a lot of, well, the YPAC, it's an art center, more or less. We promote the library and all of these parks and everything, and yet when you come up through the Redlands area, the first thing that you see is borderline ugly when you come to the marquees and the backs of buildings. So I'm just asking you to maybe think about some kind of ordinance that it requires new construction to be more aesthetically pleasing, earth tones and whatnot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, that's it. Thank you very much. Now to the consent agenda. These are items 1 through 9. Any council members wish to remove the items? Any items?
I'll move approval.
We got,
I'll second.
we got a motion by Councilman Duncan and a second from Thorpe. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Now, department reports. Mr. White?
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, members of City Council. Item 10 is the levy of special taxes for Chapman Heights, CFD number 98-1. This is the CFD that we refunded last year, and at that point in time, we had mentioned a savings to the property owners within Chapman Heights. So this is the point in time where council levies the special taxes, and we'll go through the details and compare last year to this year and property owners will recognize the savings. Before I start, the CFD, the city doesn't, we collect a fee and we recover some of our admin costs in a fiduciary capacity for the administration of the CFD, but it's not part of our general fund or any other fund. Our involvement in CFD 98-1 is just from an administration standpoint, fiduciary standpoint. These dollars don't flow through the city except that we receive the dollars and make the debt service payment on behalf of the district. So it was established in 1998. The debt was issued to fund infrastructure within Chapman Heights. That debt was refunded in 2011. There were lower rates in 2011, so it was refunded at that point in time. And then again, in September of 23, City Council authorized the refunding again for savings for the property owners. At that point in time, it was decided that the savings would be spread out over the remaining life of the debt. It's going to be paid off in 2030. That timeline was not extended with the refunding, but the savings, instead of taking them all in 1 year, it was decided to break them out over each of the remaining seven years. And again, city acts in a fiduciary capacity. This is not city's money, this is Chapman Heights money. This chart that's included in the packet is the detail of the results. It's tough to read in small font, so on the following slide, I put together the important information. But basically, if the home in Chapman Heights is over 3,400 square feet, last year, the PY is prior year, the assessment was $1,500. The current year assessment is $1,290. So the savings is $200, $210.62 for that size home. There's 214 of those in Chapman Heights. The 2,750 to 3,399 square feet, there's 328 of them. That reduction was $191.58. And as we move down, the most homes in Chapman Heights are between 1,900 and 2,750 square feet. And so each one of those property owners has a savings of $127.70 on when you compare last year's assessment to this year's assessment. And then the smaller homes, less than 1,900 square feet, the savings is $87.50. The 1290, starting from the top, the 1290, that is a consistent number as we look out to next year and the following year. All future years until it's paid off, it's going to be right around that 1290 number. So we won't see the year-to-year reduction next year, but when you compare it to what the assessment was last year, that $210 savings is going to be every year until the debt's paid off. I'd be happy to answer any questions with the Chapman Heights CFD.
Any questions from council? No. All right.
We do have one public speaker on this item from Christine Moeller.
Okay.
Christine Moeller, Fawn Ridge Place. You know, a CFD is a community facility district. It is a tax above and beyond your normal taxes. And you know, I just want to remind everybody that when we come to city council, there are financial reports all the time. There's monthly, there's quarterly, there's biannually, there's annually, and there are budget reports available. We're talking about Chapman Heights. Chapman Heights, you can say that it's a $200 and something reduction because of the CFD. You guys voted less than a year ago to reduce those fees and pass that on to the people that live there, right? Well, what you don't consider is that the price of Chapman Heights has gone up so much that most of the homes, a lot of the homes in there, have a you know, their tax rate isn't 1.25% like it is in San Bernardino County. Their tax rate is considerably higher because they have the CFD on top of that. So when Chapman Heights started out and their prices started in the 3s, 4s, 500, 600,000s, it wasn't that significant. But now those prices are considerably higher. you'd really have to look real hard to find a house under 600,000 in Chapman Heights. So when you're looking at houses that are 800, 900,000, there's some that are over $1 million in there, and you put a 1.5 or 1.6% tax rate, those people are paying over $1,000 a month just in taxes. So, you know, we're talking about a 1% tax sales increase above that. These people are going to pay the same thing. So these people have to pay that 1%. We're talking about a 2% increase in Bureau Tech. We're also talking about a Melrose increase. And then the next thing on your agenda is an increase on the LLMDs, Landscape Lighting Maintenance District. So those are going to go up too, 4.3%. Guess who's paying all of those things? We are. So a Melrose is a supplemental tax. I don't care how you say it. It's above and beyond that. Many buyers, including myself, and many people that live in Chapman Heights, we're not getting those type of raises. A lot of us, realtors or whoever, they're probably not making the same type of money that we made before. So what upgrades are occurring in Chapman Heights where we can justify something like this? Taxes, taxes, taxes. 1% plus, 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 plus. It affects our lifestyles. You know, we're not... there's no increase in community services specific to Chapman Heights. The roads aren't any better than the rest of the roads. All those things definitely affect us. I'd encourage you to stay out of their pockets.
Thank you.
Did I miss something, or did we just say that we had reduced that? Did I miss something there?
No, it was reduced. It was reduced.
And yet she gets up and complains that it's high, but we just reduced it. It seems like we actually did a good thing.
Yeah, so the Chapman Heights CFD, the Community Facilities District, is not part of the city's purview. It's outside. The annual assessment is to repay the debt that was issued to fund.
Well, I understand all that. She doesn't obviously understand, but I understand it.
So the assessment is specifically to pay off back in '98 and 2000 the dollars that were spent at that point in time. The property owners that are part of that CFD repay on an annual basis, and they will be fully repaid for that debt in 2030. Because of the refunding, we were able to reduce the annual levy associated with that.
And when was the decision made? When was all this decided as far as Chapman Heights is concerned?
Back in 1998 was when the original debt was issued. The savings was decided in September of 23. So the decision to issue that debt was in the 90s. Yeah.
In the 90s, when a different city manager was here, and certainly a different city council was here, and we had nothing to do with that. I wasn't even elected back then, so I had nothing to do with it. Yeah, she's going to get up and complain to me about it. It's like, that blows my mind. Ignorance is abounding in this chambers right now. I don't understand it all.
I will add, the other component that's also on the property tax bill, the general levy, is separate, and that one is a percentage. And so that one, the higher the assessed values are of those properties, the more property taxes will be paid by the owners. This is a flat dollar amount, so we can calculate exactly the savings. Going back to the general levy, most of Yucaipa is the tax rate area is 22% of the 1% general levy, and so even though the property taxes that are being paid by property owners in Yucaipa are a lot, the city, the part that flows back to the city that the city can use to provide services is 22% of the 1%.
Oh, I understand.
On this special assessment, the city doesn't get any money for any of this stuff. This is just to go repay the debt that was issued in the 90s.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay, thank you.
I did want to add, I believe there are bond covenants that are associated with that require us to assess an amount necessary to pay the bond service. Is that correct?
For the CFD, absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so this is one of those things where when they issued the debt 20-ish years ago, they set it and forget it. We're obligated to repay the debt, and we're obligated to set the assessment and amount to repay that debt. So this isn't even something that we could lower it and subsidize it with the general fund if you wanted to, because we issued bonds to make those improvements, and the bondholders, one of the ways we secured that was through the taxing power of the CFD. So it's one of those things where it's very complicated, but this was, like you said, sort of set it and forget it 20 years ago. I think that, the city coming back to it instead of, leaving it as is, coming back and doing the refunding so we could reduce it for the final years of the CFD was pretty much the only action the city could take, and obviously it was a positive one.
It was the only action, and the city got nothing out of it. We didn't make any money by doing that. There was an opportunity to save the property owners in Chapman Heights a couple $100. So the city went through the process of refunding that debt on their behalf, but the city didn't make any money out of it.
So to be clear, to clarify, we actually did a good thing here, even though Christine Muller gets up and says it's a bad thing. I don't understand at all.
I would argue that city staff is always doing good things. That's what we do. We do good work.
I would agree.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay. Do we need a vote on this?
I approve, I make a motion to approve item number 10.
We got a motion? Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We got a first and second, Mr. Duncan and Mr. Thorpe. All approve?
Aye.
Aye. Approve. We have it. All right. Now you got me all confused. All right, Mr. White, number 11.
Number 11. All right, moving on. This is another assessment. This is for our paramedic program. Measure Y was established in 2004. There is no escalator in Measure Y, so it's a flat dollar amount each year that is assessed on each property by type. A little bit of background on Measure Y for the paramedic assessment. When it was established, it was projected to provide funding for the next 10 years. For the next decade, it would pay for the paramedic program in the city of Yucaipa. It actually did a little bit better than that. It was supposed to go through 2014. It actually made it to 2016 until a deficit popped up. So 2016 was the first year of that deficit. All the accumulation of up until 2016 when it turned was used by 2020. So by 2020, all funds were depleted for the paramedic program, and at that point in time, the fire fund had to start backfilling the financial results of the paramedic program. In fiscal 25, the budget that we just adopted, the anticipated shortfall in 25 in that program is $1.4 million. And again, that's projected to be backfilled by the remaining dollars in the fire fund. Through this assessment, we collect about $1 million a year. So in fiscal 25, we're gonna have about $2.4 million of costs in the paramedic program. This provides $1 million of funding. This is what the assessments look like on this. Again, it's a flat fee, so there's no escalators. Those have been the dollar amounts ever since 2004 when it was established. Residential homes are assessed $52 a year. Small commercial is $78. Large commercial is $156, and then there's a formula associated with the residential care facilities. This is again, no change. There's no escalator in Measure Y, so it doesn't go up. There's no CPI or any adjustment like that. This is the same dollars that it's always been since 2004. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have with the paramedic special tax.
Any public comment?
We do have 2 public comment speakers, and we'll begin with Hanson Wong.
Hanson Wong, Yucaipa. It seems to me that we're making different assessments to try and help us meet our budget. And so this is a special assessment that's been around for a while, and so that it is in play, although there's no inflators. But even though the BurTech franchise fee is not a tax assessment, unfortunately, the public sees it as possibly being such, because if we impose the franchise tax to help us fix the roads, you know, a vehicle 3 times a week coming to destroy the roads and we need to fix them and so on. That's what it's for. And hopefully the tax for that and the tax for the responders will go specifically in those areas and not the general fund. But unfortunately, BurTech is not going to lose money. They just tack it to our bill. And so in a sense, even though it's not a tax, we're still paying for it. The other special tax that's coming up is the 1% tax. And I have a little concern that we as a city should not be saying that I will only vote for something if it's earmarked for first responders, because again, that makes it dangerously close to being a special tax rather than a general tax. And that changes the format. Even though it's not an exact identical thing, I think we should be careful when we speak about taxes that way. Even though doing something for the in our internal budget to improve the situation, only minuscule amounts will be done. But it shows that the city is willing to do something in case the tax fails and not relying wholly on the 1% tax. So I would suggest that we carefully evaluate, you know, how we approach things. Even though we're educating the public, when you say, okay, we might have to get rid of first responders, get rid of a fire truck, get rid of the senior center where people cool off, get food, and so on, it's also dangerously close to they'll saying, oh, well, we're being threatened with that. I think we have to talk about other things that could be dealt with rather than some of the things that people rely on highly. So we need to just take care and work on meeting our budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we have Donna Snodgrass.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. I'm here tonight to speak in support of this paramedic tax as listed. And in fact, if this is not the maximum, I would support the maximum allowed. I believe this tax is determined by a set formula that was included when the paramedic zone was created by the voters before Yucaipa became a city. We're facing higher salaries. The CAL FIRE's in negotiations as we sit here tonight. And there will be higher salaries, and I believe very soon they're going to have a shorter work week, which will mean that we may either have to hire more medics or work the guys and girls overtime. So it's still going to cost more money. Currently, they work a 72-hour week, and they're asking for a 56-hour week. Just as a stupid side note, when I was a firefighter, my work week was 120 hours. I know, doesn't look like it now, but that was a long time ago. So other than being forced to hire additional medics to keep us covered 24/7 for our EMS personnel, we need the money. It's in the formula. And like I said, if this is not the maximum, according to the formula, I would raise it to the maximum. I would still support the maximum if it were not there already. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers?
Just to clarify, this is a flat dollar amount. This is the minimum and maximum. This is the dollar amount that's been around since 2004. As was mentioned, the genesis of that amount was back before the city was a city, but ultimately it turned into Measure Y, And these have been the dollar amounts since Measure I was established in 2004.
Thank you, Phil. Any questions?
No, I move approval.
I'll second.
We got a first and second. All agree?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? On to item number 12. Mr. Malinowski.
Council. So we look at the fire service as a whole, and no department can do it themselves, period. CAL FIRE has over 12,000 employees, the largest aerial firefighting fleet in the world, and we cannot do it ourselves. We use cooperative agreements, partners, mutual aid every single day. Right now, we have local government engines sitting in our state stations for coverage to help us out. So with that, every fire department has mutual aid, auto aid agreements to help each other out. You ask, we come, we ask, you come. So, and we've seen that a lot here with the El Dorado fire. You know, we asked for 1,000 people, they showed up in 2 hours. So we have existing cooperative agreements, mutual aid agreements with all of our cooperators surrounding us. We have an existing automatic aid agreement with the city of Calamasa. So some of the council was here, some wasn't. Going back to 2019, we did a study for like 6 to 9 months on the efficiency of that. At the time, Calamasa had gone to non-paramedic services, and it created some issues. There were some other issues too where, you know, there's some concerns like, hey, if we're on County Line Road, I'm sitting here at the villas, like these guys are sitting here watching me and I'm having a heart attack and they're not coming. So that wasn't necessarily the reality. The way it worked out, we didn't have what's called CAD to CAD or computer to computer at the time in the dispatch centers. So there was a lag to it. You take the 911 call, you gotta let them know, they dispatch, blah, blah, blah. So that was a factor at the time. So there was a lag with that. So our Station 3, 5th and Wildwood was getting there, essentially co-arriving 95% of the time with Calamasa. So it sounds good in theory. Now that's not the reality. Now the reality is that that lag has been taken out. Another issue we ran into, if council remembers, was when you have a paramedic there, they can't leave. So now we're using 2 engines for a 1-engine call. It wasn't efficient for either city to have resources available. So Chief O'Connell has done an outstanding job in Calamasa. They have paramedics back now, so best thing they could do for their city with the fire service. And now we have a reciprocal service. So we have an existing auto aid. Tonight before you is an update to that auto aid to re-include emergency medical services. So it doesn't matter, like we always say, closest appropriate resource. People don't care what color the fire engine is. They don't care what color the patch is. They don't care. They want, if you're having a heart attack, they want paramedics. They want them as soon as possible. So what this will essentially do, so mutual aid, you ask, we come if we can, vice versa. Automatic aid, we work this out now, and it takes the human error out. So when the 911 call comes out, they put it in the computer, it says, hey, send Calamasa Engine 1, they go, send 553, they go. There's no guesswork, it eliminates all those delays, and at the end, the public gets the better result for it. So normally something like this, we would send to a consent item, but we wanted to display our appreciation and collaboration with Calamasa and just kind of highlight that partnership between our 2 cities. And Chief O'Connell's here in attendance just to echo that same sentiment. And we did attend their council's meeting when they signed their portion of the auto aid agreement. So putting the public first, regardless of who it is.
Thank you.
What I have for you, unless you have
Tim,
any
you want to
questions.
come up?
He said no, and I told him he didn't have to speak, but he can. It's
I've known him for a long time. I knew I was going to call him.
Mayor Pro Tem, council, staff, good evening. This has been a long time coming. You know, the last 6 years has been a lot of work. The last 3 years has been even more. And, you know, I'll give you the shirt off my back if you ask. And I know you will do the same. And it's about everybody in the Yucaipa Valley and helping each other. And I just appreciate this and thank everybody involved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I will say, I'm sorry. I will say under your leadership, the City of Calamasa Fire Department is doing fantastic work, as well as under Grant's leadership, the City of Yucaipa's Fire Department is doing outstanding work. We thank you both.
Thank you, Councilman.
I'll echo that.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem?
I could say just a couple words. This is such a big deal that really we probably should have had some ceremonial signing or something. I mean, this is more than just an agreement between two cities. This really signifies a much improved working relationship between the city of Yucaipa and the city of Calimesa. This approach of the closest available resource responds, regardless of city boundaries. This is the standard, and this is what we should be going to. This benefits residents in both Yucaipa and Calimesa. And it will save lives. Not long after I started here in March of last year, Chief O'Connell reached out and asked to sit down. We had a really nice meeting, but he brought this up at that time that we really need to take a look at this auto aid agreement and update it. And I couldn't agree more. It's the right thing to do. And I want to thank Chief O'Connell and Chief Malinowski for the hard work they've done reworking this agreement. And both of our cities should be proud of this cooperative relationship we have.
Can you want a picture can we get a picture in the paper for this?
Sure.
Okay.
You want to vote first?
Oh, yeah, let's vote. Sorry.
So just more context with this. So the agreement is city to city. That will be in perpetuity unless we need to address that. And then the actual boots on the ground, the addendum to it, Chief O'Connell and I would work out on an annual basis. So the actual operating plan, once the cities are in agreement, we would work out so we wouldn't have to go through the extra steps to actually change the effective firefighting forces. So that's all I had, unless you have any other questions.
Perfect.
Should we approve it?
Just one last thing for the clerk. I do have the letter of transmittal and all the copies involved for you.
All right. Do we have a motion?
I move approval.
I'll second.
We got a first and a second. All agree?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 13. Ordering the confirmation of annual assessment for the City of Yucaipa Landscaping, Lighting, and Maintenance District Number 1. I'll open the public hearing. Item number 13 at 7:05.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. As you mentioned, this item is ordering the confirmation of annual assessments for the city's LLMD number 1. This is an item that is brought before the city council each year at this time. And as you're aware, the city's LLMD number 1 includes 58 separate zones. The majority of these zones include infrastructure that primarily benefit the homeowners within each of those zones. That infrastructure includes the landscaping, irrigation, monument signs, street lighting, drainage systems, and multi-purpose trails. And in order to guarantee the city has the funding to maintain that infrastructure, the property owners within each zone must be assessed each year. And the assessment amount is determined using the methodology that was put into place when the zone was annexed into the LLMD. 3 zones were annexed prior to Proposition 218, and as such, the assessed amounts for those 3 zones will not change. The other zones are adjusted based on the change in the consumer price index, or 5% depending on the methodology that was used for that zone when it was annexed. All zones are scheduled for assessment in fiscal year 25. And I do want to note that the LLMD administrative funding policy, it also allows for credits to be applied for zones that have built up a surplus fund balance. That credit is applied to the annual assessment to the homeowners if a credit is due. And for fiscal year 2025, approximately 25 of the zones are proposed to receive a credit. Attachment 5 to the report on page 161 includes the proposed assessment amounts for fiscal year 25 for each zone, including the ones that where a credit is applied. City Council can modify the assessment amount prior to certifying it to the county for addition to the fiscal year 25 property tax roll. Staff's recommendation tonight is that City Council conduct a public hearing and adopt resolution number 2024-49, ordering confirmation of assessment for the city's LMD number 1, and approve recommendations number 2 and number 3 for this item. And that concludes my report.
All right. Any comment from the council?
No.
Any public comment?
No public comment.
All right. I'll close the public hearing at 7:08. Any council discussion?
I'll move approval.
Got a first?
I'll second.
We're looking for a roll call vote, Mayor Pro Tem.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Duncan,
Yay.
Councilmember Garner,
Aye.
Councilmember Thorpe,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable.
Aye. All right. On to number 14. City of Yucaipa, the general plan safety element update. Open public hearing at 7:09. Mr. Matlock?
All right, thank you all, well, Mayor Pro Tem and City Council members. Before you guys tonight is a general plan amendment, which is the safety element update. So just kind of as some background history, so safety elements are one of the 7 required elements of the general plan for the city of Yucaipa. And so it kind of governs public safety and the potential hazards that community faces and provides the policies necessary to address those risks and making sure that our community is well protected and able to weather the proverbial storms that can come about from the different hazards. Now, the safety element itself was last updated as part of the comprehensive general plan update in 2016. There is a law that went into effect in 2018, SB 1035, that requires that when a city does an update to its housing element, it is then triggers a requirement that the city also then update its safety element. And so this housing element was adopted in 2021, which triggered the need to do the update. And so staff has been working with CAL FIRE planning staff kind of through that process, making sure that all the updates that are needed to be made are able to do so. Then that way our safety element is compliant with state law. Now, a few different laws have come into effect from when we did our 2016 general plan update. One is addressing some of the very high fire severity zones and kind of the hazard risk with it. There's also additional coordination between the city's local hazard mitigation plan and the safety element. And so we had a reference before, but because the local hazard mitigation plan updates at a more frequent cycle than the safety element and housing element, we also made sure that it was always going to be consistent with whatever the currently adopted hazard mitigation plan is. And the last one is that we have to identify areas of our community in the fire severity zones where there isn't necessarily emergency access or 2 points of access. And so we have to map it out and then kind of figure out where those locations at and what are potential mitigation measures that we can implement to help reduce the potential risk factor. And so we are currently actively mapping that out. We have a program related to that. Kind of key elements, again, we did the updates to the very high fire severity zones as required by state law, and then addressing the program for neighborhoods that don't have sufficient evacuation routes. And then kind of a few other components is one, formalizing a policy related to essentially having a source of dedicated funding for emergency services. as we move forward, especially in light of some of the budget discussions that we've had, as well as the paramedic safety task, is making sure that we are able to have new projects, whatever they may be, pay their fair share. You guys have seen this provision kind of come through with the wine country specific plan, but this would broaden it to citywide to make sure that there's always that funding source with new projects. And then the last one is kind of updating or implementing kind of periodic evaluation of the fire department resources, making sure that as we move and grow as a community, that the 3 fire stations that we have are operating efficiently and providing the necessary service. This was reviewed by the State Board of Forestry and Fire Protection at their meeting of April 9th, 2024, and was recommended that it be approved, or at least met all those requirements. I do want to do a shout out to CAL FIRE staff, a former or Yucaipa longtime kind of resident, someone that grew up in Yucaipa as well. Brian Olson, who was our kind of technical advisor through the process at CAL FIRE, and so he did a great job making sure that we went through the State Board of Forestry and Fire Protection very smoothly. And then this was reviewed at the Plan Commission meeting of June 5th, and they also recommended approval for the City Council. Kind of lastly, and especially in light of some of the public safety funding, is add a little bit more specificity, and so there's a request to modify the draft that you guys have with adding this language to policy S3-4, which is required dedicated public safety funding sources with all new projects. Additional funding shall be required also for projects that require specialized equipment such as a ladder truck, so taller stretchers, making sure that they're paying for those services. And then the last one is just a general public safety funding, making sure that new projects provide a CFD for police, fire, and paramedic services to make sure that those costs are not borne by the taxpayers as a whole. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
All right. Ms. Kim, is there any public comment?
No public comment.
All right. I'll close the public hearing at 7:14. Any council discussion?
No.
No? All right, can we have a roll call? Motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
And then to confirm, is the motion with the additional recommendations listed on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, roll call vote. Councilmember Duncan?
Yes.
Councilmember Garner?
Aye.
Councilmember Thorpe?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Venable?
Yes. All right, any council member with business report? No? All right, Mr. City Manager, is there any?
Just one thing, sir.
Okay.
Mayor Beaver asked me to convey to the council that he apologizes for not being able to be here tonight. He is in Florida attending a Department of Homeland Security training. A good portion of that training has to do with FEMA reimbursements, and so he looks forward to bringing that information back to the city upon his return. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you.
All right.
I do have one thing. You mentioned National Night Out. I don't think we have another city council meeting before then, do we? So is it definitely the 6th?
Yeah, it is.
National Night Out 6th, all right. Thank you.
All right, our next meeting will be August 12th. And is there any announcements for anybody? I know that we're, Healthy Yucaipa, we're down quite a few people, and so we're looking for some volunteers to join that committee. I think we're down, what, Mr. Wong, 4? 4. We're down 4 members. So if anybody'd like to join, we'd love to have you, even just to come out, just to see what we're all about. And National Night Out is August 6th, right? 5 p.m. All right. I'll call this meeting to adjourn at 7:17.